Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you've had a wonderful day. It's been beautiful here on the farm, about 71 degrees, but it has been really windy. Now I know y'all that's been here before says, what's new? You're all the time telling us it's windy, and it is Oklahoma, so I'm used to that, used to it being windy. It started out windy this morning, and it has been windy all day and has not slowed down at all. Usually in the evening time it begins to slow down a little bit. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, and it's still pretty windy. A lot of the leaves have blown off the trees. I have one walnut tree that's got about 5 or 6 walnuts on it that are holding on for dear life, but I'm sure that they'll be letting go real soon, and it'll be time for me to get out there and rake up all the I started to say acorns, all the walnuts, and get them moved out of the way, because I don't need something else to help me trip. I do well enough tripping over my own feet, but those walnuts can sure get you tripped up if you're not careful, so I need to get them taken care of. Now, before I go any further, Blade and Cheyenne wants to make sure that I tell you guys thank you for all of your thoughts and prayers for them. She put a sweet little thing on the Facebook page yesterday thanking everybody, and I want to extend that to y'all. Thank you so much for all your prayers. Little Howie is doing good. He did have a little bit of a setback, just a temporary setback with his numbers that they do for jaundice. They took him out from under the lights and thought that he would be okay. His number elevated some. They thought that sunlight from the window would do okay, and it wasn't enough, so they had to put him back under the light. And so that now the numbers are better, and they took him back out from under the lights, and so had a good day yesterday, and he's doing good today. And the last I heard is he might get to come home this weekend, and we're looking forward to that. It'll be a joyful thing to have him here and to have a baby in the house again. And you know, it's been a long time since Blade's let me cuddle him like I plan on cuddling baby Howie. Blade simply won't tolerate that anymore, and it would be a little bit weird too. So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting to cuddle his son. And you know, this Meemaw love is on a whole different level, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm excited about the holiday season. I've been a little bit apprehensive just because of everything that's happened this year, and not really knowing how everything was gonna go. But I'm determined that to press on and to make some new holiday traditions with little Howie, and be thankful for the gifts that God has given us. So I said all the preliminaries, and now let's get into the heart of the matter. I thought today that we would talk about appetite fatigue. Now, that's a real thing. It's different than starvation. Starvation, obviously, is when there's not enough food, and we've seen some countries here in the last years that have went through that. Venezuela is one that comes to my mind. Those people have dug through trash and all kinds of dumpsters and different things looking for food to feed their families, and they're you know, fleeing and trying to get away from not having food to feed their children or themselves. That's different. Starvation. Appetite fatigue, you can be surrounded by food, absolutely surrounded by food, but you have no desire to eat at all. You've totally lost your appetite. Now, appetite fatigue, now I'm not talking about when there's a medical condition that causes that. I'm no doctor, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about appetite fatigue when we catch ourselves in a situation that we happen to rely on our food stores, and what can cause it and what we can do about it. Now, when we were kids, Howie and I had very similar growing up times. And I mean, he was a year older than me. So, you know, we were about the same age. So we grew up in the same time frame in the 70s. And, you know, times were difficult for our parents. You know, they were trying to make ends meet. And we know that there were, you know, there were gas lines, and there were, you know, people were having a hard time making ends meet. And our parents, my parents, Howie's parents, they weren't any different than everybody else. They were all trying to make ends meet. And one way to make ends meet was fixing food for the families that stretched a long way. And one of those things that they fixed to stretch a long way were beans. Now, you know, today, from all of the teachings that we have with long-term food storage and prepping and all of that stuff, that the things that they tell you to have are beans and rice and wheat or wheat berries, something like that. And it goes right along with the way that that we were raised. And it's because beans are cheap, rice is cheap. You can fix a lot of it, and it goes a long way, and it fills the tummies. And that's what our parents were working towards, was feeding us, filling our little tummies, making us satisfied that way, and making ends meet. And so over and over and over we had beans, and over and over we had potatoes, and we had stew, and we had potato soup, and we had these things that were cheap and stretched a long way. And my mama, you know, usually when you went to school, you knew you were going to have beans because she already had the beans soaked. And so you'd get home, and she didn't just fix a little pot of potatoes. It was a great big old pot. I mean, beans. She didn't just fix a little bitty pot of beans. We had a great big old pot. And you knew that we were going to be eating beans until that pot was empty. And so it started out the first day when you got your bowl of beans, you'd have a bunch of beans in your soup. Then the next night it was a little less, and a little less, and a little less. And so, you know, the first night you might have beans and fried potatoes. And the next night you might have beans and cornbread. And y'all know I don't like soggy. And my parents, to make things go further, they would make cornbread, which I like cornbread, but they would lay it out in your plate, and they would pour your beans and your bean juice on the top of it to make it go further. And I did not like that at all. Now, in Howie's family, he was putting ketchup or mustard or chili powder, all kinds of stuff on the beans to try to change up the taste of it and the flavor of it. And when we first got married, he wasn't real crazy about beans. Now, today, when I fix a pot of beans, we would eat the beans until they were gone, just like we did when we were kids, but I wasn't adding more water to make them watered down. We were eating them, and then the next night the juice was getting a little bit thicker, and the next night it was a little bit thicker. And there was less of the entire thing, and it was getting more concentrated. And so it was, to me, it was getting better, and to Howie it was getting better. It wasn't getting soupier, it was getting thicker and tastier that way. But there were nights when I was a kid, I can remember, I don't like stew. And, you know, there were nights when we would have things and I just wouldn't have it, you know, because you know, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. But even that's not appetite fatigue. Appetite fatigue is a long-term thing. And I was, you know, ready for breakfast the next morning, whatever it was we were going to have. So I thought we would kind of talk about appetite fatigue and how to avoid it with our pantries. One of the first things that Howie and I noticed when we started watching and listening to people that were building their pantries, excuse me, was that they had the same basic things: beans, rice, wheat berries, oatmeal, those kind of things. And all those things are good things. But can you imagine, say in this scenario, the grocery store, for whatever reason, the grocery stores have closed. Maybe it is because they can't get food shipped to them. That's a very reasonable thought to have right now, because we are seeing shortages. Now, they're not that bad, I know that, but I'm just making a scenario here. But say the grocery store says, we're sorry, we can't get stocked, we're closing the doors. And so you have nowhere to go to restock your supply. But you've been working all this time and you have a pantry. And your pantry is full of those things: beans, rice, wheat berries, oatmeal, that kind of stuff. Your pantry also may have some things in it: pasta, cereal, a few fruits and vegetables. But within a couple of weeks, you've went through those things. And so now you're down to those staples, those important beans and rice items. So now you're looking at, we can't get any groceries. It's the beginning of winter, so we can't grow a garden right now because we don't have a greenhouse and it's out of season to grow. And so we won't have any vegetables. We won't have any fruit. Fruit is out of season. We have no way of getting it anywhere else. And so you're looking at spending month after month after month eating beans and rice and oatmeal and grinding wheat berries to make bread. Now imagine, if you will, you had to eat oatmeal for an entire month. Now, I mean oatmeal plain. I don't mean the flavored oatmeals. I don't mean being able to put butter and sugar or brown sugar or granola or fruit or nuts in the oatmeal. You just have the oatmeal. How long do you think it would be before you were like, I can't eat another bowl of oatmeal? Because you can't take the texture anymore. You can't take the thought of eating a plain old goopy bowl of oatmeal. See, it's important to think about those things. Now, my little Cheyenne, while she was pregnant, she craved mashed potatoes. Now, of course, she didn't eat them for breakfast, but I believe the girl would eat mashed potatoes every meal while she was pregnant if she could. She didn't care. She wanted mashed potatoes. But I can't imagine having to eat plain mashed potatoes over and over and over. I don't mean butter, salt and pepper, cream or milk or whatever it is that you put in them to make them really tasty. I'm talking plain, just plain mashed potatoes. I think she would have gotten tired of that really quick, because she had, we would have bacon and cheese in it, or we would have, roasted garlic, or different ways to season those potatoes up for her to keep her and the baby happy while she was pregnant. But we're talking about, how long would you be happy if you just had to eat it plain? How long would it be before you were like, I don't want any potatoes, I don't want any oatmeal, I don't like it anymore? But you have no options because the stores are closed. It's not the season for a garden, and you have no means of planting a garden. So instead of being discouraged and scared that is the way that things are going to turn out, well, let's talk about what we can do to make sure that our pantries are ready to battle that and to keep our families from getting appetite fatigue. Now, when Howie was growing up, his sisters made cinnamon toast all the time for breakfast. And when Howie and I got married, I liked cinnamon toast. I like cinnamon toast to this day. But you couldn't get Howie to eat a piece of cinnamon toast if his life depended on it. He just wouldn't do it. He got burnt out on it. Now, that's not the same as appetite fatigue, but that'll kind of give you an idea, getting burned out on something that you just absolutely don't want it anymore. I didn't get burnt out on it, but I got sick one time on eating. My family had, it must have been somebody's birthday, and we had ice milk. We never got ice cream. We got ice milk, unless we had homemade ice cream. But if it was store-bought, it was ice milk because it was cheaper and it, fed a lot of kids. And so, but they did manage to get some ice cream topping. And it was right when that magic shell first come out, when you put it on the ice cream and the shell gets hard. And I had butterscotch. Oh, in the night I got so sick. I was so sick. And I cannot say that it was the butterscotch. But to this day, I don't like butterscotch because of that. I have a memory of that. So for whatever reason, you develop this aversion to food. You just don't have an appetite anymore. It might have been several hours or even a day. And if they have appetite fatigue, they just won't eat. Well, that begins to introduce problems in a long-term survival situation if you can't get your people to eat. Because in stressful situations, we need the calories, we need the nutritional benefits, and we need to get them to eat. So we need to make sure that we do some things to keep our pantries well stocked and keep our families prepared to eat what we put on the table. One thing that we need to do is we need to put ourselves into Google School or YouTube University and learn some new recipes. Now, we all have our favorites. We have family favorites. And one of the rules that you need to remember with your food pantries is to stock the things that your family will eat. But to make sure that you have enough variety of different items that they don't get fatigued. Even I like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But if I had to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day of my life, I guarantee you before long I'm going to get tired of peanut butter and jelly. And so, yes, your family likes peanut butter and jelly or tomato soup or alphabet soup or whatever it is. Yes, they like that. Or SpaghettiOs. I'm just trying to name off things that I can think of that kids like. But too much of those things get them to where they don't want it anymore. So let's learn some new recipes. And we all know that there are so many people out there that have recipes, and now's the opportunity for us to learn those recipes and make them and find out if we like them, tweak them if we need to, especially on recipes like casseroles, and things you cook on the stove. You can kind of change ingredients around to where it tastes like what your family would like it to taste. Now, sometimes on baking recipes, like, you're baking a bread or something like that, you can't really be taking away on some of the ingredients and the amounts of ingredients that makes it all come together, because it's a chemical thing. It is it's a formula, and that you can't really mess with on some of that stuff. But tweak your recipes and learn, maybe your family likes, really like a lot of garlic, and maybe other families don't like any garlic at all. So, tweak the recipe and make it your recipe. Then put in your binder. Get you some cookbooks and begin to go through those cookbooks and find your recipes. I would caution you, for your long-term storage, for an emergency situation, a time that you're going to be living out of the pantry, don't pick a whole bunch of extremely complicated recipes that take lots and lots of ingredients. Now, I'm not telling you not to have those recipes at all. I'm just saying perhaps you don't put those recipes in your survival manual, that these are the recipes that I'm going to depend on in circulation to keep my family well fed and keep them out of appetite fatigue. Because when you're in stressful situations and emergency situations, lots and lots and lots of ingredients may not be available unless you've stocked them. So if you do put those recipes into your rotation, keep in mind that if in a year's time you want to make that one time a week, you need those ingredients times 52 that's 52 times that you're going to have whatever it is, that amount stocked in your pantry. Because remember, we're doing a scenario here that you can't go to the store. You have to simply use what's in your pantry. So find those recipes, practice them, gear them towards what your family likes and doesn't like, put them in your binder, and make that part of your rotation. So put yourself back in school. We all have to school ourselves. Okay, now the next thing would be to build up the stores with variety of stuff, our own personal stores. Now, think about your seasonings and your spices and your herbs. Now, there's lots of herbs that we can grow. There are some spices that we can grow, and you have to think about what area of the country you live in, and some of these things take a long time to grow throughout the growing season. Some things just will not grow in your area. I think about pepper, and you could have probably several cans or containers of pepper, but I would probably also store, if you like pepper, store some peppercorns so that you could, I think that peppercorns would store longer than ground pepper. Make sure you have a pepper grinder though to grind it up. You're going to need lots of salt, and not just for seasoning your food, but you're going to need canning salt if you're going to can. You're going to need salt for preserving. Salt is very important. And then from there, expand on what you like. If your family likes garlic, try to have garlic in different forms in your pantry. If your family likes really spicy, like different kinds of pepper flakes and pepper seasonings, and maybe you like lemon pepper and paprika, and there's just all kinds of stuff. Experiment with some stuff now while you have opportunity to do that, so that hey, my family didn't really like lemon pepper. My family, Howie and I, have always really liked balsamic vinegar, and I like to put it on boneless, skinless chicken breast. I don't season. I season the chicken breast. I don't bread the chicken breast, and I saute it in a skillet, and then when it's done, I begin to baste it with that balsamic vinegar, and it kind of gets a thick kind of glaze on there, and Howie and I really liked it. Blade said he didn't like it, but he would eat it, but it's not his go-to meal. I couldn't serve it once a week and him be happy about it. He would let me know. So think about your spices and your seasonings, your condiments, ketchup, mustard. Learn how to make homemade mayonnaise. Now, I'm preaching to myself here because I have tried to make homemade mayonnaise 3 or 4 or 5 times, and I have not been able to make mayonnaise to save my life. I have not been able to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. I have tried several different people's recipes, and I have one from VW Family Farm that I'm going to try her recipe because she makes it look really easy, and she says it's easy, and I believe her, but I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can do that. So, Living Traditions has a ketchup recipe that she says is really good. There's all kinds of recipes that shows you how to make mustard, but you have to have the ingredients on hand to make those things. Cheyenne loves ranch dressing. That girl loves it. So it pays me to have ranch dressing on hand for her, or at least the homemade powdered mix, so that I can make a batch of ranch dressing. Now, those kids, Blade and Cheyenne, and probably your kids too, they would rather be able to go to the refrigerator and pull out that bottle, name brand bottle of ranch dressing, and put that on their stuff. But homemade ranch dressing is so good. I have actually thought about washing out the bottle and refilling it with homemade just to see if they even noticed that it wasn't the same. And I may give that a shot one of these days. So there's all kinds of condiments. Remember we talked about a few weeks ago, if you open your fridge and your whole door is full of condiments, and mine is, I'm guilty of that. But if you've got stuff stocked, you know, you can use jellies and jams to make glazes for meat, to change the taste of it, to kind of change the recipe up a little bit. You can use gravies and gravy mixes for your roast, and your you can use it for roast beef and chicken, and I'm sure it'll work on pork. You take a packet of ranch dressing mix and a package of brown gravy mix and some peppers and some butter. Put it in your crock pot, and it's delicious at the end of the day when it's done cooking. There's just all kinds of things like that that you can put in your pantry and spread it out, make it go further. Now, there are times in a grid down situation, in an emergency situation, in a situation that we could possibly one day find ourselves in. I know it's hard for us here in the United States to think there's a possibility of that, but it could be one of these days. And we're doing a scenario right now. So scenario, we can't get to the store. There are times when it pays to have a little bit of comfort food. What is comfort food? Chocolate, sweets of some kind, a piece of hard candy, something that is considered a treat. Now, long-term food storage-wise, you're not going to be able to keep chips and that kind of stuff long-term. But right now is a great opportunity for you to figure out things that you can put in food storage that that your family could make a treat out of. My dad is the best popcorn popper in the world. When I was a little kid, we would go and every other weekend we went to my dad's, me and my brothers, and we looked forward to him popping popcorn for us. Now it wasn't bag popcorn that you put in the microwave. It was, of course, when I was a little kid, they didn't have microwave popcorn, but he always done it on the stove, and he still to this day does it on the stove. He buys it bulk. I think I was on the phone with my stepmom yesterday, and she got a delivery come in from probably Amazon, and the postal person said it's really heavy, and she agreed, and she told me, she said, oh, it is heavy, and I think she said it was like 8 pounds. He had ordered his popcorn, and so popcorn to my family is a treat, and my dad has a way of making it, and he probably doesn't do anything spectacular, over the top, secret, but to us it was magical the way he popped popcorn. And so, you know, that could be considered a treat. Not a sweet treat, but it's a treat. So there's all kinds of things that you can add to your pantry to bring a little bit of comfort. And in a situation where things are scary or stressful because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, a little bit of comfort food goes a long way. Now, you don't want to just sit down and eat the pantry, you know, bare, but a little bit of something. You know, if you could bring out just a little bit to appease everybody, and then put the rest back for the next time that everybody needs something. But now's ample opportunity to learn how to do those things too. I saw a recipe yesterday for homemade sweetened condensed milk. Sweetened condensed milk, especially this time of year going into the holidays, is something that I keep on the shelf. And I found a really good deal on sweetened condensed milk, and so I stocked up. I have quite a few cans of it. But, you know, that's another thing. If the grocery store or the big box stores were closed for a long-term situation and you weren't able to get there, and you needed to make a birthday cake or something for someone, just to, you know, bring a little bit of normalcy to their lives, and you needed that sweetened condensed milk, What are you going to do? Well, if you know how to do this, make this sweetened condensed milk, and you've practiced, I'm going to practice it and see if it's anywhere close to what sweetened condensed milk is. They say it is. Then I will simply put that in my recipe binder of my food storage recipes, and then I've got it. If I ever need to make sweetened condensed milk homemade, I've got it. Same with cookies. Y'all can save a lot of money. All of us can. If we learn, go back and learn to make homemade. We don't have to rely on the store-bought stuff if we know how to make it. Now you have to have your ingredients, what these different items call for. That's why you need to put your pantry recipe book together, your menu guide together, or recipe rotation together. You may not be able to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to plan out the entire year's menus starting January 1st all the way to December 31st. Every day is planned. You may not be able to do that. I cannot do that. Life is chaotic sometimes here, and there's no way I can do that. But if I've got these recipes on my rotation, and I kind of know, according to my family, how many times a month I can get away with a certain recipe, and so I know that's how much of that I need to stock. I need to stock more of this and less of this because they don't eat this as well. And you can do the same thing. It's customizable to your family. So make your plan. Figure out your go-to recipes, how many times you're going to make them, and kind of stock that way for a year or so. You may have to start out with a couple of months and then a little bit more and a little bit more, but we're going to have to, I think, get a little bit busier here in this next little time frame and stock some more stuff back, because it's going to cost us a little bit more than what it was costing because prices are going up. And so we need to put a little bit more urgency in our steps. Don't be scared. Just know that you're looking well to the ways of your household, that you're trying to fix it so that your family is not facing appetite fatigue because you're having to eat beans and oatmeal every day. Prepare. Put yourself in Google school and learn these things. Try to stock up on condiments and the spices and all the stuff that we've already talked about. Now, I tell you, on some things, I wouldn't stock a whole bunch of mayonnaise. If I can't figure out how to make homemade mayonnaise, I won't really worry about it. I'll do something else. But I'm going to challenge myself to learn how to make it. You can have different mixes and different jarred meals already on your shelf, where all you have to do is take it down, open it, put it in a pan, add your water or whatever it is to it, and you got a prepared meal. Just continue to learn, continue to adapt, continue to add new to your shelves, to your stock. Don't let yourself get caught in the beans, rice, oatmeal, wheat berries, because you're going to get appetite fatigued, and you have to take care of your family. You have to look well to the ways of your household. So we have a little assignment. Make get our idea of what our menu is, our food recipes that are our go-to recipes, and then put ourselves in YouTube school, YouTube University, Google School, whatever, and learn some new things. Get you some cookbooks. Try not to get those fancy schmancy recipes that's going to take forever to get done. Find some good, hearty recipes that your family really likes. Add them to your rotation, and don't forget to add the ingredients to your rotation, and have enough stuff that you can make beans taste different. You may, if you do this, you may be able to get away with having beans once a week. and your family not get tired of them because you're mixing them different ways. Maybe one week you make beans and rice. Maybe another week you make homemade refried beans and you have tacos with it. Maybe another week you learn have a cornbread salad and it has beans in it, or a taco salad that's got beans in it, or just on and on and on and on and on. But you have to learn it and apply it. I'm going to do that too. I have my own homework assignment. I'm going to do that, plus I'm going to learn how to make homemade mayonnaise. And if y'all have any tricks for me that I can figure out what I'm doing wrong, I absolutely don't know. Most of the recipes I've tried seem simple enough. It looked like mayonnaise, but when we tasted, Howie and we didn't like it. It tasted oily, and so I'm doing something wrong. I don't quite have it yet, but I'm determined to learn it. So let's keep ourselves from having to worry about our family and our family facing appetite fatigue. Know that we've got enough stuff stored in our pantry that we can keep the meals interesting anyways, and to where they're not dreading sitting down around the table and sharing some time together, having their bellies filled and actually enjoying eating the food that's filling their bellies. Now, the last thing before I go, I hope that I've kind of brought this to you in an encouraging way to work on those things now and to develop the skills. The last thing I want to say is know that your long-term food storage is going to begin to dwindle depending on how long of a situation that you're faced with. Now, this is a scenario. Remember, this is not I'm trying to scare you kind of thing. You might go through a job loss and you have to eat your pantry down. It might be that it's an entire country thing and we all have to do that. And it might be a long-term thing. Make sure that you are able, the next season that rolls around in the springtime, that you are prepared to start a garden. Even if you have to container garden. That means that you need to prepare, think about this and prepare by having seeds, pots, tools, all of those kind of things. You need to work on that this fall and winter. Begin to study up. If you don't know how to grow a garden, get you a book. Go to the library and get a book. But read up on starting a garden. I have a friend that lives in town, in a big town. And she said that if she had to, she would dig up her backyard. She has a privacy fence. She would dig up her backyard and she would put a garden in her backyard. She's gardened before. She just hasn't in the last few years. But she knows what she's doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, now is the time to learn it. Read your books. Start practicing. Gather your tools together, because eventually you're going to have to restock your pantry. And if you can't go to the grocery store to do it, you're going to need to be able to grow the stuff or buy the stuff from somebody else that grows it. Fruits and vegetables and meats. If you can't grow, if you can't raise animals and have them processed, go to somebody that can and see if you can't purchase from them. We're going to make it, guys. We're going to be all right. We've got time right now to learn and to stock our pantries with more items that maybe we haven't thought about. Okay, before I go, what's our assignment? Get those menus. Learn some new recipes. Try them out. Fix them how your family likes it. Put it in your recipe binder. And then you're going to add to your pantry the ingredients that you need to change the flavoring of your beans, of your rice, of your oatmeal. Those little add-ins that make it a little bit better. Extracts. If you're making baked items, if you're making oatmeal, put a little bit of vanilla. So have your extracts and your flavorings. Have your spices. Have your herbs. Have your condiments. Continue to add. Look well to the ways of your households, guys, and keep your family from appetite fatigue in an emergency situation. Well, I love you guys. I really do. I hope this helped you. This is Josie, and until next time, I love you. I really do. We're gone.